Hey guys, so today I'm going to be making some spiced barbecue plum sauce. If you have an abundance of plums like we do, sometimes you can just only do so many things with your plums, and plums can be used as an alternative for making different types of ketchups and sauces that would incorporate tomatoes. So this is a great way if you have a nightshade allergy that you can make an alternative to those items. Now, I really like this because you can use it as a barbecue sauce for your burgers. You can use it with your meatloaf. I like to use it for making sloppy joes. It has just enough spice in it that you get a little bit of the sweetness from the plums, but then you get a little bit of a kick because of all the seasonings that are in it. So before we get started, I'm gonna let you guys know what I put in my seasoning. So it's just a little Mod Podge of stuff. So we are going to cut these up, we're gonna have them, we're gonna pit them, and then actually everything is just gonna go into my food processor, and then everything is just gonna go into a saucepan from there. Now, this recipe does call for 3/4 chopped onions. I am super allergic to fresh onions. I cannot cut them up or else it's like I'm crying for hours. My eyes will not stop watering. So I actually use dry onion powder unless my husband is here, and then he can cut onions for me. However, he's not here today, so I'm going to be using 2 teaspoons of dried onion. My kids only like so much of onion and garlic, so we're gonna be decreasing the amount just a little bit. So I'm gonna start getting these halved. You wanna make sure that your plums are nice and washed before you start doing this. And I'm gonna actually, since these are bigger, cut these down a little bit. And I always have a little bowl so I can throw my pits in there and get this off. Throw some in there. So I use 4 pounds of plums. Now 4 pounds of plums food processed is roughly 8 cups. To put in our 1 cup of apple cider vinegar and just kind of mix that in. And now I'm going to pour in all of our seasoning. Going. Now I'm going to get this to about medium high. Now you want it to come to a boil, and then once it comes to a roiling boil, you're going to turn this back down to low, and then it's just literally going to simmer for 45 minutes to an hour. Now you do want to periodically stir because it will stick to the bottom after so long, and it makes for a real mess when you're trying to get your dishes and pans cleaned up afterwards. All right, so we are starting to boil. So I'm just gonna give it a little quick stir, make sure I've got nothing stuck around the bottom of the pan. I'm gonna get it to a full rolling boil, and then we're gonna put the lid on. Now, I like to use a spatula because when you're doing this, you're gonna get stuff on the sides, and I like being able to get all that off, and it just doesn't work very great with a spoon. Also, I feel like if you've got stuff, you know, along the bottom, you can scrape it off. So I personally prefer using a spatula when I do this, just because it makes for way easier cleanup at the end. So we are going to be putting our lid on here soon, and I'm going to be changing the heat down to low, and then I'll be checking on it every 5 to 10 minutes. Now, usually about 30 minutes to 40 minutes in, I actually start preparing all my canning jars and my lids. So just follow the manufacturer's recommendation on preparing your canning jars and lids. And we're gonna let this set for another 15 minutes. Give it a quick stir. So as you can see, there's still some pieces that are a little bit bigger. So this has been on for an hour. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go over this with my immersion blender, and then we're gonna let it sit for about another half hour, 45 minutes. All right, so this has sat another hour. It is definitely a much thicker, almost like a tomato sauce consistency. So I'm actually going to start putting some of this in my prepared canning jars. Now, typically, I would recommend using a half pint jar. I'm using a bigger jar because I'm actually going to be making big batches of sloppy joes up, and then I'm going to vacuum seal them and freeze them for easy use for meals. So now you want to get this a 1/4 inch headspace. I'm just going to set these in here while the water warms up. Now you do want your water covering the tops of your lids so that it properly processes.